Are you dreaming of quitting your 9-to-5 job and getting into farming? Well, 13 years ago, I did just that. I walked away from a successful career as a research scientist, and I've been a full-time farmer ever since. Now, I did a few things right, but there are definitely some things I wish I would have known along the way. In this video, I'm gonna give you my very best advice if I was gonna start a farm from scratch in 2026. My top tip might really surprise you. Hey friends, I'm Julie.
I'm Daryl.
And welcome back to our farm. Now, my very top tip is to not buy land. And that might sound crazy because you absolutely need some kind of space if you're gonna start any kind of farm, if you're gonna grow any kind of food. But especially in today's real estate market, with mortgage rates so high and it being very difficult to get land loans unless you have a lot of capital up front, all you're gonna do is tie up all your money into paying for that land. And no matter what enterprise that you go into with your farm, you're gonna need a substantial amount of cash available to get that started. Even if you're really scrappy like we were and just started with the bare minimum and free things that you could acquire locally.
Buying land also could tie you to your normal 9-to-5 job because you're going to need that additional income to pay for your mortgage on that new piece of property.
Now, you are probably going to have to continue to work your regular job in addition to starting your farm in the beginning. If you got all that overhead expense to worry about right from the get-go, you're going to be tied to that job a lot longer than you want to be.
So what should you do if you're not going to buy land? You can look into renting or leasing options. If you're going to do that, make sure you get a long-term leasing agreement in writing. This will protect your investment if you need to make infrastructure improvements.
And I would get really creative with this. You don't have to necessarily look through real estate listings for land available to lease. In fact, it's very difficult to find land that way. It's much better to kind of drive around your area and look for properties that have a lot of extra land or seem to have a lot of extra land. One case that I really like to cite is I knew a guy in California that started his whole market gardening business on churchyards. So he just went to churches that had a lot of extra lawn, which if you look around, many churches do. And he proposed that he would put in ornate, beautiful gardens that the members of the church could participate in the care and harvesting of. The church would get some of the excess food to give to members that may be in need. Usually that sort of agreement is all that it takes. He got use of several acres for free just by figuring out what would be beneficial for both parties.
You can also get out into your community, look for farms that are not utilizing all of their land. A lot of farms will have a few acres that they just don't know what to do with or don't have time to do anything with. And you can always lease a portion of that. One of the biggest things is getting out into your community and finding plots of land that are available for whatever you want to utilize.
In fact, if you think about it, the average age of the farmer in America is rising fastly. I think it's about 65 right now.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of farmers out there that are at retirement age, but don't really have a solid plan for what's going to happen with the legacy of the farm that they've built. And a lot of them would rather not just sell that land to developers. So they're looking for a scrappy young farmer that would like to come in, learn the business, and slowly take it over through time. Maybe you take on a management role where you apprentice under that farmer for 5 to 10 years, and your labor helps make the down payment on that property, and then you sort of come up with a rent-to-own option where that farmer gets to retire on the property that they have worked so hard to build, and you get to take over their business and carry on their legacy. Again, beneficial for both parties. In fact, some states even have programs where they have websites set up where retiring farmers can list their land, and you can get on there and you can apply to take over part or all of their farm. I know North Carolina has one. I remember California having a similar program. If you reach out to your local agricultural extension agent, they would most likely know what I'm talking about if your state has such a program.
So one of the things that Julie and I wish we'd have done early on in farming was establish the size of our goals. You need to make these realistic and not try to do everything at once. You need to pick 1 or 2 enterprises like laying chickens or vegetables and try to do those really well.
Remember, you're not going to beat Walmart on prices. Your product has to stand out on quality. So take the time to get really good at that one or two things that you are very passionate about and that you know you can stick with. Like, don't get into dairy right off the bat if you can't commit to milking that animal every single morning without fail. So it might seem obvious to say, but have a business plan. This is where you're going to decide on the scale of your business. Are you just going to be a homestead where you're mainly raising for your family but selling a little bit of the extra? Or are you going to be a full-fledged farm where you're producing enough to supply your full income to support your family? And at the end of the video, I'll tell you where I think most farmers go wrong when they're deciding on their business plan. Don't expect to make money fast.
So some of the things that you're going to want to do is to try to get debt free as much as possible. Have a nest egg set aside for unexpected expenses, feed, setup cost, and plan on probably still working an off-farm job of some sorts to supplement the income initially, because it's going to take a minute for you to make money from your homestead or farm. Plants take a while to grow, animals take a long time to raise.
And while you're in that prepping and planning phase, this is when you should really be focused on acquiring knowledge and skills. Spend as much time or money as you need to acquire the skills that you're going to need, because those are going to be your best assets once you start farming on your own. And those are going to be the assets that make you valuable to other farmers in your community. And you're going to need them because it's not possible for you to learn everything you need to know before you get started.
Or ever. Community is always very important in farming. You're going to need help sometime, and it's good to know your neighbors. And while you're in the preparation stage, you can always volunteer at local farms. Trust me, we always need help. We're always very appreciative of the help, and we will gladly mentor and answer your questions while we're getting things done.
Yeah, I would pick a farm that is similar to what you kind of envision yourself doing, or maybe something that you're just curious about and you want to feel it out and see if it's right for you.
Julie interned on a bunch of farms before she purchased her first farm. And this helped her acquire skills and really help her make the decision on what enterprises she wanted to focus on first.
Yeah, let me tell you guys about that experience because I think this is really valuable. When I first quit my career as a research scientist, I did not go right into owning my own business. I went and worked for 3 other farms actually, and I found all of those internships through the ATTRA website. That's ATTRA. I'll put the website up here and also in the description of this video because I really want you guys to check this out. Now, you've probably heard of farm internship programs like woofing, and those in my mind are really more a way for farmers to get free short-term labor, and they're not necessarily educational, whereas the opportunities available on the ATTRA website are specifically there for mentoring and educating new farmers. And it is absolutely okay to expect to get paid for some of your time and to get room and board as well from these apprenticeships. That doesn't mean that you're not going to work your butt off. That's going to be part of it, and you're probably not going to get paid that well, but you need to be able to take care of your life while you are sacrificing months and months of your time to work on this other farm. Now, I started on an organic vegetable farm in California called the Green String Institute, and I would absolutely recommend that. I believe they are still running their internship program. I think they do 3 or 4 sessions a year. I can honestly say that was probably the happiest time of my life. That was the best. I worked so hard. I think I lost like 30 pounds in 3 months because we were just out getting our butts kicked every day in the fields on a 600-acre organic vegetable farm. But every afternoon, we got classes with Bob Kennard, who is a soil scientist, agricultural specialist, organic farmer extraordinaire. He is a wealth of knowledge, and his classes consisted of both hands-on learning, woodworking, metal shop, sowing seeds, and also reviewing studies and textbooks in a classroom setting. So wide variety of education, fantastic opportunity. From there, I went to work at a sheep dairy where I got to milk East Friesian sheep and we made cheese. I really, really thought that I wanted to get into grade A dairy and cheese making. And although I still really, really love that as a hobby, I learned that with all the expense and regulation involved in doing that and being a full-fledged legal cheese maker where I could sell it retail just wasn't for me. That wasn't what I was getting into farming to do. And that's why instead I run a raw milk herd share with my herd of goats instead. And then the last internship that I took was a year long on a farm in North Carolina called Fickle Creek Farm. And they do still take interns. They are a fantastic farm to work for if you're looking to get into regenerative farming with diverse livestock operations. They're very similar to Joel Salatin, Will Harris, White Oak Pastures style of farming, a little bit smaller. I think they're on about 60 acres. They sell in the Raleigh-Durham region of North Carolina, and they've been very successful for a long time in that area. It was founded by two PhD professors in, I believe, agroforestry and animal science. So there is a wealth of knowledge to be shared there. They've been educating new farmers for probably over a decade now, and they're very good at what they do. Those are just some examples of the positive experiences that I had, but there are tons and tons of opportunities in every state on that website. And if you can at all swing taking a sabbatical from your job or building up a big enough nest egg to step away for 3, 6 months, even a year, that is probably the most valuable time that you will spend if you intend to pursue farming full-time as your career.
So these internships can turn into opportunities also for full-time employment on that farm, or you can work out agreements with them to start enterprising on their property. Something that's complementary to them. If you're on a livestock farm, you could start farming vegetables and fill a niche that they don't have.
So the area where I think most new farmers go wrong when they're first getting started is they don't put enough market research in, or they don't know where they're going to market their products at all. I know from experience, when you're getting started, you are so focused on running that farm, getting the goats, getting the garden in, raising your first eggs, and you're really focused on doing that part well. But maybe you don't think about the business side so much. So when you are looking for a place to start your farm, you really need to get very familiar with the area, the people, the businesses that might be customers of yours in the future.
You're also going to want to look at what types of products are already there in that market. You don't want to do a bunch of pigs if the market is saturated in pork. Maybe you should do beef instead. Like our area here in Kentucky is very saturated with beef. So we're not going to do cows other than for ourselves. We're going to focus more on goats, produce, and pork. And those are the areas that we've noticed here are lacking. And that also means there's a lack of competition.
Yeah, you don't want to necessarily go so niche where you're going to have a really hard time selling it. But if you see an obvious gap, like at your local farmer's market, 0 people have eggs available, well, maybe it's a good time to get into laying hens. So when you're thinking about where you want to start your farm, maybe don't put it in the middle of nowhere where there's no one that would want to buy your products within a 100-mile range. Make sure that there is some kind of maybe urban or suburban area next to you. I think Joel Salatin says at least a city of 25,000 people.
Yep.
If you can find one with 50, 100,000 within an hour drive of you, even better. That's where you're going to find the customers that don't have access to farm fresh products and can afford to buy your products at a higher price. So don't forget to really research your customer base. And remember that even though you got into this just to be a farmer, you're going to have to learn to deal with people and give them the best customer service experience possible.
So those are our top tips for what we would do if we were going to start a farm in 2026.
Let us know below in the comments if you're planning to get started on your farming journey this year. We'd love to know how we can help you. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Bye!